In this video, I will share with you how I made the title of this graph dynamic. That is, the title does change depending on the applied filter or slicer. As you can see right now, when I pick the labor value in the slicer, the title clearly indicates that the graph is about labor, while choosing plant will change the title again to indicate that the graph is about, well, plant resources. So let's begin. Okay, let's quickly create our graph. I'll create a new blank page. Data for this chart will be coming from the connected dates table and resources table. I'll be using for visualization the line and stock column chart. So getting that into our page, nothing in there right now because there are no data connected. So for the x-axis, I will be using the dates, date key column. I don't need the quarter and I don't need the date. For the column y-axis, that's the column, we'll be using the period, plant units period. For the line y-axis, let's use the cumulative. For the legend, let's use the resource name, and that's it. That's our graph. To show the per month values, all we can do is just drill it down, and just to isolate the chart title, I can put the legend next to the graph or the chart to the right. That's it. We have our graph. Now that we have a chart, let's introduce a slicer, and the values of the slicer will be connected to the resource type column. So I need a slicer right there. Nope, not that one. We have to unclick the chart. That's the slicer, and let's connect that with the resource type. So the resource type has two values, labor and plant. As you can see, when I pick labor, the title of the chart remains the same. Plant, nothing has changed in the title. And to make it dynamic, we'll create our measure. So let's create our measure, right click and new measure. And let's call that measure as title dynamic. And for this measure, we'll be using the if function. So if the filters for the resource type, there's a resource type column equals the labor, then we'll make the title of the chart labor, say labor resources. Otherwise, let's call it plant resources. Enter. No error, so we'll go to the properties or formatting the visual, the general. Let's go over to the title, and here you can see that this is the title, the static version of the title, but there's a function here wherein you can use the measure that we just created for it. So let's do that, and from this, let's find the measure that we created, title dynamic, and press OK. All right, so as you can see, the title of the chart now says plant resource. The other one is labor resource. Okay. That's easy, right? Within seconds, you can make the title of the chart dynamic. Now, let's up it a notch and create a condition wherein the filter values are more than 2, such as not just labor and plant, but more than 2 values. But first, let me just align the title and place it in the middle so we can clearly see it. Okay, that's it. Let's try another slicer coming from milestone. So I'll introduce a slicer and it will be coming from milestone. As you can see, this milestone has 4 values, milestones 1 to 3 and the project wide milestone. Now, the chart title is not changing. Even I changed the selection. Okay, let's do the modification. And using the same measure that we had introduced earlier, we will alter the formula, and this time around, instead of using ifs, which is gonna be quite confusing if you have multiple conditions. We'll be using the switch function. So I'll be using the I'm just gonna remove this switch expression whenever the value returns true. Is that when the filter for the column milestone equals milestone 1, the description should be exactly the same as the value. So I cannot write everything all caps or in lower cases. It needs to be exactly the same as the value in the slicer. We'll put it as milestone 1 resources, and let's copy this one 3 times. Okay, one more, 2 times actually. So we'll remove 2 or remove or change 1 to 2. Here, let's change 1 to 3, and let's set the last condition, otherwise project wide resources. This measure has already been assigned, so we don't need to assign it again. Press enter. Let's see. Let's remove this filter. Okay, right now it's generating an error because we haven't picked anything from the milestone slicer. So if I pick milestone, then it will generate the resources for that milestone, and you can see the name of the chart indicates that this chart is about milestone 1 resources, milestone 2 resources, milestone 3 resources, milestone or project wide resources. Since we didn't have resources for the project wide activities, so it's blank. But if I don't have any filter applied on the milestone slicer, then it goes for an error. So let's try to fix that error to our title dynamic measure by introducing a condition. So that condition will be if has one filter on the milestone column, then it will be running the switch function. Otherwise, we'll make it all resources title. Let's see if it's gonna work. Enter. I'm just gonna collapse the function bar. So right now it's saying all resources because let me just put an S just to be consistent. Right now it's showing all resources because we haven't picked any slicer or filter yet. So if I pick milestone 1, it says milestone 1 resources, milestone 2 resources, milestone 3 resources, project wide resources, unpick the selection, and you'll have all resources. Now, this chart is connected to the milestone slicer and not anymore against the resource type. And that's basically it for the topic in this video of making your chart title dynamic. I hope you've learned something new today. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.